Hold a lump of charcoal. Feel the weight. Almost nothing. It's lighter than the wood it came from. Burn down in a covered pit until everything that isn't carbon has been driven off. Black, crumbly, leaving dust on your fingers that smears rather than wipes. Break it and the interior is smooth, dark, with a faint sheen like the inside of a mussel shell. Smell it. Faintly smoky, woody, ancient. This is the fuel that has made iron for 3,000 years. Every sword, every plow, every nail, every horseshoe. Charcoal reduced the ore and gave the world its iron. If the origins of the material that built the modern world fascinate you, subscribe now. What happens next in this gorge will change how you see every piece of iron around you. Now hold a lump of coke. Different, heavier, denser than charcoal, compressed by the processing that heated coal to drive off its volatile compounds. The color is silvery gray, not black. The texture is porous, riddled with tiny holes where gas escaped during coking, like a mineral sponge. It doesn't crumble, it fractures in angular pieces with sharp edges. Smell it. Sulfurous, mineral, chemical. This is coal with its impurities partially removed. This is what Abraham Darby believes will replace charcoal and free the iron industry from its dependency on forests. England's forests are disappearing. An acre of oak woodland produces enough charcoal for 1 ton of pig iron. The Coalbrookdale furnace alone consumes 50 tons of charcoal per year. 50 acres of ancient woodland felled, stacked, buried, burned, reduced to fuel. The Forest of Dean is shrinking. The Sussex Weald is stripped. The charcoal iron masters are cutting down the material they need faster than it can grow back. And within a generation, maybe 2, there won't be enough woodland left to smelt the iron that England needs. Wren Castley stands at the old furnace in Coalbrookdale, watching the last charcoal cast of the day. The furnace, built into the steep side of a gorge above the River Severn, stone and brick 20 feet tall, roars with the blast from its water-powered bellows. The wheel turns in the river below. Water drives bellows, bellows drive air. Air feeds the furnace. The furnace melts ore into iron, a system as old as civilization, operating in a Shropshire gorge in 1709, producing iron the way iron has always been produced, with charcoal, with forest, with the accumulated growth of centuries of oak reduced to carbon and consumed in hours. There's a visitor watching her. Abraham Darby, the furnace's new owner, a Quaker from Bristol, small-featured, plainly dressed, with the calm eyes of a man who measures everything twice and speaks only when measurement is complete. He's been watching her for a week, watching how she reads the furnace, not with instruments, there are none that can survive the temperature, but with her senses. The color of the flame tells her the temperature. The texture of the slag tells her the chemistry. The sound, the particular roar or wheeze or silence, tells her whether the blast is right. She tastes the slag, runs her finger through a cooled sample and touches it to her tongue. A visitor, a merchant from Shrewsbury, stares.
You just ate that?
Tasted. There's a difference. The green slag tastes like iron. The black tastes like sulfur. You learn.
I'd rather not.
Darby opens a sack. Inside, coke. He pours it beside the charcoal pile. 2 fuels, side by side, black and gray, light and heavy. 3,000 years of iron making and the material that might change all of it.
Charcoal iron bends. Coke iron breaks. But what if we need it to break differently?
The first coke smelt is a disaster. The word disaster is generous. It implies something dramatic. This is quieter, worse. The furnace chokes. Coke is denser than charcoal. It packs tighter in the furnace shaft. Tighter packing means less space for the blast air to pass through the burden, the mix of ore, fuel, and limestone. Less air means less combustion. Less combustion means lower temperature. Lower temperature means the ore doesn't fully reduce. What comes out of the tap hole, when they can get it to come out, is a sluggish, half-melted mass of iron and slag that flows like cold porridge and solidifies into a lump that Wren calls the bear. The bear sits in the hearth of the furnace, immovable. It weighs 2 tons. They can't melt it, the furnace isn't hot enough with coke. They can't remove it, it's fused to the furnace lining. They have to break it up with chisels and sledgehammers, a week of work that produces nothing saleable and damages the furnace lining, which must be rebuilt before the next attempt. Jasper Bryce arrives from the Forest of Dean. He's heard about Darby's experiments. The iron-making community is small, and news of a Quaker trying to smelt with coal has provided excellent tavern conversation for months. Bryce is 56. He's been making charcoal iron since he was 16. His iron is soft, forgeable, excellent. His reputation is impeccable.
Coke iron. Brittle, impure. It cracks under the hammer, Darby. I've been smelting with charcoal since my father taught me, and my iron doesn't crack.
He's right. Early coke iron is brittle. The sulfur in the coke, not fully removed by the coking process, migrates into the iron during smelting, making it hot short, brittle at forging temperatures, cracking when a blacksmith tries to shape it. Charcoal iron doesn't have this problem because charcoal contains almost no sulfur. Bryce's iron is better for forging. Wren collects slag samples from every cast. Each sample goes into a glass jar labeled with date, furnace conditions, temperature estimate, blast rate, burden composition, and the result. The jars line a shelf in the casting house, a library of failure. Green slag, too much iron in the waste. The furnace isn't reducing efficiently. Black slag, too much sulfur, coke contamination. Amber slag, correct chemistry. Rare, beautiful, the color of success. She reads the jars the way another person reads a book, looking for the pattern that connects amber to the conditions that produced it. Darby doesn't despair. Quakers don't, or if they do, they don't announce it. He adjusts, varies the coke to ore ratio, changes the limestone quantity. Limestone acts as a flux, binding with sulfur and removing it in the slag. Increases the blast pressure. Each adjustment changes the slag. Each slag sample teaches Wren something. It takes 4 years. 4 years of adjusted formulas, rebuilt furnace linings, slag samples, and iron that's slowly, agonizingly slowly improving. The sulfur content drops as the limestone proportion increases. The fluidity improves as the blast temperature rises. By 1713, Darby's coke iron is no longer a bear in the hearth. It's a river of molten metal flowing through the tap hole into the casting channels. Not as cleanly as charcoal iron, but flowing. Abraham Darby replaced wood with coal and made the Iron Age permanent. The furnace he built is still standing. If that doesn't make you subscribe, consider this. Every iron bridge, every steam engine, every railroad rail descends from this gorge. The coke iron is still too brittle for forging. Bryce is still right about that. A blacksmith can't shape it on the anvil without cracks appearing along the grain. But Wren notices something else. The coke iron, when molten, is more fluid than charcoal iron. It flows further. It fills molds more completely. It captures detail that charcoal iron misses. The sharp edges of a pot handle, the thin walls of a cooking vessel, the fine ribs of a fireplace grate. Coke iron isn't a forging material, it's a casting material. The properties that make it terrible for the blacksmith make it excellent for the foundry. Its brittleness doesn't matter in a pot, pots don't bend. Its fluidity means it fills thin mold sections that charcoal iron can't reach. Its hardness means it resists wear. And its cost, 1/3 of charcoal iron, because coke is cheap and coal is unlimited, means that iron can become a consumer material, not just an industrial one. Wren suggests it. Not formally, she doesn't write a proposal or present to investors. She points at a mold, a thin-walled cooking pot cast in sand, the kind of domestic item that has always been made in brass or copper because charcoal iron is too expensive for kitchen use.
Try it in coke iron. The fluidity's right. The wall's thin enough. And the price...
The price is revolutionary. An iron cooking pot cast from coke iron costs less than half the brass equivalent. For the first time in history, a laborer's family can afford an iron pot. Iron, the material of ships and cannons and bridges and tools, becomes the material of kitchens, of hearths, of daily life. Darby calculates the savings. He has a Quaker's restraint and a businessman's eye, and when the numbers resolve, he shows them to Huldah, his wife, the woman who has managed their household on the fluctuating income of an experimental ironworks for 4 years.
The savings are considerable.
Abraham, that's more than we earn in a year.
Yes, considerable.
By 1715, the Coalbrookdale furnace produces iron exclusively from coke. The charcoal pile is gone, replaced by the coke ovens, their blue-yellow flames burning day and night as coal becomes coke, becomes fuel, becomes iron, becomes pots, grates, engine cylinders, and the 1,000 iron objects that an industrializing nation demands. The engine cylinders matter most. Newcomen's atmospheric engine, the first practical steam engine, patented in 1712, requires cast iron cylinders, large cylinders. Cylinders too big to cast in expensive charcoal iron, but perfectly suited to cheap, fluid coke iron. Darby casts Newcomen cylinders at Coalbrookdale. The cylinders pump water from mines. The mines produce coal. The coal becomes coke. The coke smelts iron. The iron becomes cylinders. The cycle feeds itself, a closed loop of industrial supply that needs no forest, no woodland, no centuries of oak growth, just coal. And England has coal for 1,000 years. Wren's slag collection fills 3 shelves by 1717, 147 jars, each one a record of a furnace condition, a fuel ratio, a temperature estimate, a result. The collection is the development process, the trial and error of 4 years encoded in glass jars of colored waste. She can trace the progression from the first disastrous black slag, sulfur-laden iron wasting, to the consistent amber of optimized coke smelting. The amber jars outnumber the green and black now. The furnace has learned its chemistry. Wren has learned to read it. Abraham Darby I dies on May 5th, 1717. He's 39. The cause of death is unrecorded, the particular vagueness of an era that doesn't distinguish between exhaustion, furnace fume exposure, and the accumulated stress of 8 years of pioneering work that the world won't recognize as revolutionary for another century. He dies having changed the world. Not publicly. Nobody outside Coalbrookdale knows what he's done. The coke smelting process remains a Coalbrookdale secret for decades. Other iron masters continue with charcoal, continue felling forests, continue shrinking the woodlands that their industry requires. Darby's revolution is a quiet one, a Quaker revolution. Unstated, unannounced, practiced rather than preached. There is that of God in everything. Darby said this, not about iron, not about coke, about everything. The Quaker faith that sees divine potential in all materials, all people, all situations. He saw potential in coke the way he saw potential in his apprentices and his wife and his furnace keeper and the gorge above the Severn where the old furnace stood against the hillside and breathed fire into the future. Wren continues. She doesn't leave Coalbrookdale. She stays at the furnace, now operated by Abraham Darby II, the founder's son, a boy of 6 when his father dies, who will grow up to cast the first iron rails, the first iron bridge components, the first iron-framed industrial buildings. She stays because the furnace needs her. The slag still needs reading. The chemistry still needs adjusting. The coke smelting process, perfected in principle, requires daily, human, sensory attention that no book can provide because no book has been written. The old furnace at Coalbrookdale is preserved. You can visit it. Stand where Wren stood, where Darby stood, where the first coke-smelted iron flowed from the tap hole into the sand channels and cooled from white to orange to red to the dark gray of pig iron that would become pots and cylinders and bridges and rail and the skeleton of a civilization that runs on metal. The charcoal is gone. The forests that fed it are gone. The charcoal iron masters, Bryce and his kind, the men who were right about their iron and wrong about the future, are remembered as footnotes. The coke iron that they dismissed as brittle and impure became the material of the Industrial Revolution, the material of the modern world, the material of everything you see around you that is made of steel, which is refined iron, which is smelted from ore, which is reduced by carbon, which comes from coke, which comes from coal, which comes from the ground beneath a gorge in Shropshire where a Quaker said try and a furnace keeper said yes, and the future began with a lump of silvery gray fuel that nobody expected to change anything. Hold a lump of coke. Feel the weight, smell the sulfur, see the pores where gas escaped 300 years ago. This is it. This is where industrial civilization begins. Not with a blueprint or a patent or a parliamentary act, but with a lump of processed coal in the hands of people who were willing to fail until the failure became the future.